guys, for today's video, I wanted to share with you why I can no longer support Nars Cosmetics as a beauty company. Obviously, I have been a die-hard fan and supporter of Nars Cosmetics for years, but I also consider myself a compassionate person who doesn't want to do harm to others. And due to everything that's been going on with the company, been publicized in the news, I wanted to explain to you exactly what's going on, why I can no longer support them, and also just kind of break down what's going on because it's so confusing. And so many brands are hiding underneath laws and regulations and not telling the truth. And when it comes to understanding what's in our cosmetics, what's harming animals and doing animal testing and what's not. So I'm just gonna break down what's going on, what this all means, and bring you the information and the research that is actually true. So say hi to my cat. Oh, say bye to my cat, and give this video a thumbs up if you believe that companies should be more transparent about animal testing and about how they source and create their products. And let's get into explaining exactly what's going on and what this all means. Nars Cosmetics was founded by a guy named Francisco Nars back in 1994 who was a vegan himself and has always been a cruelty-free company. Nars has been one of the cult companies for absolute years on the top lists of everyone, and it's because they're a great brand that you could not only look great with but feel good about supporting. Well, recently this week, after a lot of people were asking Nars to be transparent, they came out and admitted that since they were acquired by Shiseido, their plan is to sell in China and that they will not only be supporting animal testing in the future, but they have been ever since the acquisition. Now let's back up for a second because this isn't just a brand that is testing on animals. This is literally a brand that was cruelty-free, that was trusted, and that was ethical, that is now stepping backwards and deciding to start testing on animals. From being cruelty-free to start harming other beings, hurting and killing animals, and leaving them debilitated for reasons that aren't even necessary for safe cosmetics to be created. Now that's just sickening. When all of these other brands are going cruelty-free, why would Nars be stepping backwards? The long answer short is because it's for money. And I'm going to break down exactly how all of the money stuff works and why Nars would be doing this, and how selling in China is their main goal, and how selling in China requires animal testing, but it actually doesn't, and there's other brands that have worked their way around that who sell in China and don't test on animals. But Nars Cosmetics apparently doesn't want to go through those procedures and spend that extra time and money to be ethical and cruelty-free, and instead is going directly into China and starting testing on animals. Now, I'll be the first to admit there are still products in my makeup kit that are not cruelty-free, that I purchased before understanding the ramifications, or that brands that are sold in China that have other people do testing on their behalf. And of course, as a person who considers myself compassionate and ethical, that upsets me. But what's even worse about Nars is since their acquisition by Shiseido, they have been lying about it. As a blogger, I speak to a lot of different brands, and I have checked multiple times with representatives from Nars that over the past 5-10 years that I've been using them, that they have been cruelty-free. Apparently, ever since making this internal decision, they have been testing on animals and having animal testing done by representatives in China and telling people that they are still cruelty-free when in fact they are going forward and actively doing this testing. It's literally a stab in the back, or should I say like a stab to the faces. So Nars has actually been doing this for a while and lying to consumers. And as consumers, we vote with our dollars. And as you can see, I have supported Nars with my own money for absolute years. And to know that my money was going towards something that I don't believe in when I was being lied to is very, very frustrating for me as a compassionate person, as a crazy cat lady, as an animal lover who wants to try to minimize the harm that I do to others. So why on earth would Nars be doing this? It's literally like Stone Age logic. Why would a brand go backwards and start animal testing when they've always been cruelty-free? And like I said earlier, the short answer is for money. China, as we know, has been kind of opening up its borders, and now that they're kind of opening up, there is a huge projection for money when it comes to the Chinese beauty market. And by the year 2020, it's actually projected at $50 billion. Which means that people who live in China and use skincare and makeup and beauty are projected to purchase $50 billion annually by the year 2020. That's a lot of money, and understandably, brands want to be a part of that and get a cut of that. Well, the unfortunate and sickening thing is that Chinese law and government requires that any beauty product or cosmetic product that is sold on a retail shelf in China needs to be tested on animals, which is sick, it's twisted, it's Stone Age, and it's actually ineffective, but that is a law that the Chinese authorities have in place. There is a way to sell products in China without ever doing animal testing or ever having other people do animal testing on their behalf, which is how cruelty-free brands can exist in China. But it costs more money, a lot more time and effort, and unfortunately a brand like Nars that you would think has those kind of ethics, apparently it's not something that they are going to do. And me filming this video is kind of my way of contributing, educating people, and actually begging them to look into that and to consider alternatives. Now, we all know that animal testing is terrible, and I'm not going to get into that in this video. Kat Von D actually posted an amazing post on her Instagram with some images, which I will link below, and I highly recommend you read her post because it is very accurate, authentic, and really tells you what nobody else is saying about animal testing. And I've also got some statistics here that actually explain that animal testing is not only not necessary, but it's also ineffective compared to the other alternatives that exist. For instance, just one ingredient in a product can result in the deaths of at least 1,400 animals. One ingredient, and if you turn around the products that you're using, there's probably a list of 30 ingredients. Just one can kill 1,400 animals. There are actually cosmetic safety tests that are cheaper and more effective that do not require any animal testing. For instance, if an ingredient is tested on an animal, the accuracy that a human is also going to have a reaction is only 40 to 60%, whereas these alternative testing methods that are cheaper and more ethical predict reactions 80% of the time, which means that if there's a cosmetic company out there that's doing the alternatives to animal testing, we're gonna have a much better idea as if that ingredient is going to be good or bad for us as humans who are the actual ones who are going to be using the cosmetic products. In 2013, the EU, basically all of Europe, banned animal testing and said, if this cosmetic product was tested on animals in order to be sold here, we will not support it, which is a huge step in the right direction. And it's just time for frickin' America and all of these other countries to catch up. So next I'm actually going to break down how the cosmetic company actually works and how this kind of all happens, because a lot of it is hidden from consumers. First and foremost, there are brands and there are parent companies. Now, in the case of Nars, Nars was literally a dude who made a cosmetic line. And when that cosmetic line got popular, a huge corporation came in and said, we want to buy this. And Nars decided, yeah, that's a great idea. I want to make some money. So he sold his company to the larger company and he bought a private island. But that's besides the point. So this large parent company can actually have multiple brands underneath them. They own hundreds of brands in some cases, and each one of those brands not only has different packaging and different ingredients, but those brands have a different story, different morals, and different values. For instance, in the case of Nars, some of those sibling companies are like Bare Minerals and Bare Essentials, which are cruelty-free, as well as Laura Mercier. And then there are some other brands that do test on animals. Two in this example we'll call Sushi Play-Doh and Dulce and Yo Mama. So this parent company owns many different brands, and these brands make the parent company a lot of money. And unfortunately, some of these brands test on animals, and some of these parent companies test on animals. But this parent company, even if the parent company tests on animals, can still own other brands who say, no, we're not going to test on animals, which was like Bare Essentials, who does not allow animal testing, and Nars, who used to be cruelty-free and used to not do animal testing. So within this parent company, Nars was one of the brands that was cruelty-free, and unfortunately, Nars has literally decided to come over here and financially support animal testing, which of course is very upsetting. So then as consumers, should we be supporting all of these brands? Should we boycott these brands because they help the bigger company? To each his own, and different people have different opinions on that. But my opinion as a consumer is that if I do support these companies, the parent company will see that these cruelty-free brands are doing better. My dollar is going towards something that I agree with. They'll see that these aren't doing so well. They'll hopefully put more money into these brands, and those cruelty-free brands will do better. And the parent company will say, hey, something's going on here. We should pay attention to what our consumers are saying. And on that note, I literally have lipstick all over me now. Nars Cosmetics did put out an Instagram post that was basically saying, we don't support animal testing, but we are going to be doing it, and we're really sorry. They are trying to smooth it over with their audience and say, sorry we let you down, sorry we lied to you, here's our excuse. We are still going to choose cruelty and money over ethics and sustainability. So then there are other brands that are sold in China that do not test on animals. How is that possible, and how come Nars isn't doing that? 100% Pure is a line that is one of my favorites. They are completely natural. These mascaras are made of chocolate and blueberries. I love them. But they are not tested on animals, nor have they ever been tested on animals. Yet they are sold in China. So how does that work? I will use this as a pen. Here's a little map. So this outlined here in red is China, and this right here is us, the US, where 100% Pure is located and sold. Now, in order to be sold in China, as we discussed, products need to be tested on animals if they're going to be on retail shelves. Well, 100% Pure contacted a company here in Oregon, which is a third party that sells directly to consumers in China. So it completely bypasses that legal system and sells directly to people's houses through a third party, which means no animal testing, and China can still get those products. So then why isn't Nars Cosmetics doing that? Well, because there is an additional party, an additional company, that means less money, because 100% Pure or the cruelty-free company needs to pay someone for the work that they're doing. So that means less money overall, but it means no harm done. Well, unfortunately, because it takes extra time, money, and effort, larger brands such as Nars are choosing not to do that. And as consumers, we can plead, beg, and educate them and tell them to please rethink their options. So then when it does come to us consumers, what are our options? What can we do? What should we do? What are we supposed to do? The good thing is that there are some cruelty-free alternatives that work just as well, if not better, that do not add to that harm. So I'll share a couple with you today. One of the most popular Nars product is a combination of their Orgasm blush along with a Laguna bronzer. This is one that's a little bit different because it has Sin and Casino. But the most popular one is the Orgasm blush and bronzer combination. Now, e.l.f. Cosmetics came out with one that is $6 and it's almost identical. It works extraordinarily well, and they have other color options too. The next dupe is for the Nars Complete Concealer. A great cruelty-free option that I personally think works better is from Juice Beauty. This is the Perfecting Concealer. It's freaking amazing, and it's actually made of organic materials, so it's better for your skin overall if you've got breakouts or things that you're trying to hide. And then there are liquid lipsticks. Nars has the Velvet Liquid Lipstick, but Kat Von D also has liquid lipsticks, which are way better. Very comparable in texture and in pigment. However, the wearability of the Kat Von D's is actually much longer, because for me, the Kat Von D lasts through eating and talking, whereas the Nars one did fade off after a while. So as consumers, just remember that you and I vote with our money, and if a cosmetic company is doing something that we don't agree with, we have to hit them where it hurts. In the wallet. And so through my own personal journey, I am always trying to be a better and more ethical consumer. And there are still products in my makeup kit that are not cruelty-free that I purchased at a time before I knew exactly what was going on. But remember that you do vote with your dollar, and you do have the power to change the world. one penny at a time. Also, there are tons of cruelty-free petitions. You could email Nars directly. You could email other brands directly asking for alternatives. You could support alternative companies, or you could sign petitions. There are a lot of petitions on change.org. There are a lot of government petitions. This is the one that The Body Shop is currently doing. Go to thebodyshop.com/ban animal testing. But again, I will leave a whole bunch of options for you below. So if you want to vote with your dollar, if you want to vote with an email, or if you want to vote with a click, you do have the power to vote for cruelty-free alternatives. And just kind of be an informed consumer, because I think that a lot of what happens is because of a lack of education and information. So I hope that my pretty charts helped you out. I'm sorry that this video is on a slightly rant-like note, but just know that I love you. I post videos every Monday and Thursday, and it is my goal always to educate and entertain, and to help you live beautifully inside and out. So thank you for hanging out here with me and educating yourself. If you want to educate other people, feel free to send this video to someone, or at least send some of the petitions or the links down below to somebody else, because the more people that sign those and raise awareness, the more we can do for animals and get those cruelty-free alternatives available, since harm and cruelty is not a necessity. But just know that I love you guys. Always remember to be beautiful, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye. Would you test this on this face and kill this beautiful little being? Exactly.